Welcome to our group coaching session of Harmonious Strength Training Program. Today, we are going to focus specifically on integration of different parts of the body, different principles, different aspects of our system. Good to see you, Suli. Welcome in. Hi, Suli. I was just talking about how we are planning on doing some integration practices today. So you are at the right place at the right time. Let's see how we can maybe chat for a minute or two, just in case some other folks are going to be joining us and they're running late.
Yes. Well, I'll take this opportunity to ask you something, and that's about the, I haven't used my, what do you call it? Mentoring or whatever it was. The one
Coaching.
session. Sorry? Coaching session.
Yes.
And I've been struggling with, what to be coached on. So do you think this is a good coaching session if I ask for, you've mentioned, I do Qigong, and you've mentioned doing Qigong without a form. So I would be interested in, how do you decide what to do, and how do you do a practice that's without form, and how do you build energy?
Well,
is that a good session?
It's a really good question. What I would like to do is I would like to actually give you a private session today. Hopefully other folks will still join us for this group coaching session. So essentially, what I would like to do is invite you to use the link I just put in the chat.
Oh.
And all you need to do is just click the link now before we complete our session, because Zoom links, the Zoom chat, it disappears as soon as you hang up. Now, once you book that session, we will meet and we'll figure out all the answers to your questions related to my practice of Qigong. If you don't mind today.
Okay.
So I will be happy to answer any questions and tell you about our upcoming program. Today, I would love to dive into harmonious strength training a bit further. And so if you have any questions about this aspect of our training, I would be happy to answer any questions about that. Does it sound fair?
That sounds fair.
Great.
Yeah. So I don't have any questions. I'm loving it, because it's like really a good way of, balance, left and right, front and back. And I really like the slow, like especially the squat, the strength building. I really like that, and the idea of endurance when you're, yeah. So, excuse me. Yeah, I think it's great.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying it, and welcome, Anna. So we are going to do some fun integration practice today. Are you ready?
Yep.
What we're gonna first start with, as always, we're gonna take a natural stance, jumping and landing softly, and then we will do some shrugging of our shoulders, something that you're familiar with from one of the original sessions in our program. So jump and land softly. If necessary, you can jump more than once. All right, so hopefully you will find your natural stance. And now we are going to shrug the shoulders against the resistance of muscles antagonists. So you are shrugging your shoulders, slowly raising them towards the ears. And then whenever you're ready to bring them down, again, do it as slowly as you did on going up. And you can combine it with your breathing, matching the pace of your movement to the pace of your breath. So you literally inhale as you raise your shoulders and exhale as you take them down. A few more shoulder movements, raising the shoulders up and bringing them down in sync with breathing. And now we are going to make same movements, but add another component, rolling the shoulders forward. Again, using the same level of resistance or similar level of resistance. Imagine that you're submerged in a tank with molasses or some other viscous substance. And so just these simple movements would require a significant amount of effort. Just move your shoulders around. This simple visualization actually has amazingly profound effect on the body. Whenever you're ready to reverse the rotation, go ahead and make similar movements, rotating shoulders backwards. Good. One more shoulder roll for good measure. All right. Now we are going to roll one shoulder following the other forward. And making these movements may require, again, some effort because you're engaging the muscle's antagonists and creating resistance. Or just simply imagine that you're moving through molasses. As I promised, we are going to be working on integration today. And by integration, I mean, instead of isolating a particular muscle and working on one muscle, we work on a number of different muscle groups at once. So they all get trained. As you can imagine, we're not just working on the traps or on the lats. We're also engaging the muscles of the entire torso because the torso is getting involved. It's twisting and bending sideways as you're rolling the shoulders. Whenever you're ready to reverse the rotation, feel free to make similar movements backwards. Very well. So this obviously is a very simple engagement of just the shoulders. What else can we do? Well, we can also engage our arms. Let's see how we can make movements with arms as if we only had the upper arms. like we don't have lower arms, we just have the stump of the upper arm. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna make the movement up and down. And when we make the movement up and down with the stump of the arm, we're bringing the hand behind the back of the head. And then we make the other arm go up while this one is going down. The hand goes all the way behind the back of the head or behind the back of the neck. Yeah. Now, this is a relatively isolated movement. I am bringing it up so that we feel the difference. Right now, we are just making movements using the deltoids, both anterior and posterior deltoids. Obviously, they're working against each other. And this movement can be more integrated. How would we integrate this movement? Well, we start moving also the lower part of the arm. So for example, here, from the back of the head, the hand goes up and then extends forward and then pulls back. And the other arm goes behind the back of the head at the same time. So as you can see, we are extending and flexing the arm at the elbow. Extending, going forward, and then bending backwards. Now, the deltoids are still working, but now we're also engaging our biceps and our triceps. Feel free to experiment with pronation or supination of your lower arms. It will have effect on the way that your biceps and your triceps muscles work. So for example, just to humor me, go ahead and pronate both hands and see how that feels. And then whenever you're ready, supinate only halfway. So the hands are positioned in a vertical placement, the palms facing each other when they're both facing, when they're extending forward. And then one hand goes behind the back of the head and the other one goes to the ribs. And what this does, it gives different strands of the arm muscles an opportunity to work out and get stronger. By now, you may feel that your arm muscles and your shoulder muscles are getting tired. So you may need to do a little bit faster movement to match the pace of your breathing that may be accelerating as you're transitioning to the aerobic regime of training. You may also tone down the intensity of your exercise, or as I prefer to call it, an exploration. Because we're not just doing an exercise, we're exploring. What else can we explore? Well, we can explore, for example, a similar movement, but moving at a diagonal, at an angle, as if you are doing karate chops. And as you're doing karate chops, make sure that your elbow leads downwards. So you're not doing karate chop like this. Nobody has ever managed to chop anything with a karate chop with the elbow sticking out. The elbow needs to lead and the hand follows. So as you're doing this, your elbow leads and the hand follows. And notice what happens to my torso. I twist my torso. So now I'm engaging obliques, the muscles between the rib cage and the pelvis that are responsible for twisting of the torso, among other things. Very good. You may feel like you're getting tired, so you can simply tone down the intensity even further down, gradually transitioning to the endurance training rather than focusing on strength training. And when you're ready, you can stop doing this because we are going to move on. And the next thing we're going to move on to is we are going to imagine that we have taffy in our hands. That's right. Taffy is a kind of they're really viscous and sticky substance that gives you a lot of resistance if you try to pull it or squeeze it or knead it, twisting it. So that is going to be our next exercise. We are going to twist the imaginary ball of taffy in our hands. We're gonna knead it and make it a little bit less stiff or more pliable. But in order to make it pliable, we need to massage the heck out of it. So that's what we're doing. And as you're doing this, experiment with distance between your hands, gradually increasing and decreasing it. As you can see, my arms are going sideways. This is an opportunity to engage the medial delt. Another thing that's also happening is that the lower pecs are getting a nice workout, along with a muscle that most people don't even know that they have, coracobrachialis. Coracobrachialis is the muscle responsible for adducting the arm or bringing it closer to the body towards the center line. Well, somebody's got to train coracobrachialis. If we don't do it, who's going to do it? Now, from this move, let's move on to the exploration of the shoulder rotator cuff. And the way that we're going to do it is we are going to continue playing with taffy, but we're going to move it this way. So as you can see, I am engaging my arms and getting rotated around the shoulder joint, going to the right, going to the left. It's okay to turn the torso as well, but the arm rotation is what we're really looking for. You heard me mentioning how people often complain about rotator cuff injuries. If they had stronger rotator cuff muscles, they wouldn't be getting those injuries. And it's important to train them because otherwise there are not many opportunities in our daily lives to train rotator cuff muscles. And most of the exercises that people do in gyms don't really do anything for that. All right. The next move that we're also going to do dedicated to the rotator cuff muscles is we are going to extend the arms forward. And then we are going to turn and twist this taffy ball in front of us. It's some kind of ridiculous way to drive a car, right? Only cartoon characters drive cars like these. However, this really engages your rotator cuff muscles, and you can play with the position of this ball of taffy, higher up or lower down. You can bring it even above your head. So as you can see, we are experimenting with different ways of engaging our rotator cuff muscles. That's why I call this explorations rather than exercises. Exercises are just something that you repeat a certain number of times, hoping that you're going to get a desirable result at the end. And what we're doing is we're exploring. What else can I do with my rotator cuff muscles? Well, maybe I can make this ball a lot bigger, like the size of a beach ball, or even bigger than that. And then notice what I start doing with my hands. I actually start turning my entire arm as my hands turn upside down and basically make 360 degrees twists. So the palm is facing up this way, the other palm is facing up the other way. And then they alternate. Again, both palms facing up, but they are doing it twisting or turning literally 360 degrees. By now, you probably feel like, wow, my rotator cuff muscles are getting tired. So don't hesitate to tone down the intensity of this exercise, and eventually we'll just stop. See how you can slowly reduce the intensity lower and lower, maybe down to just 20, 25%, and then down to 10, down to 5% of full intensity, down to 2%, or even lower, 1%. By then, you won't even be able to hold up your arms, and you can just simply shake them. I'm sure that your arms are feeling like a jello or a taffy that got nicely warmed up and also tired. Let's move on to the legs. As I promised, we will be doing integration today, which is exactly why we're doing both arms and legs and torso practices all in one fell swoop. So what are we going to do with the legs is something very interesting. First, we are going to stir the imaginary pot with one foot. Sounds like a silly idea, but hey, there are a lot of silly ideas that I've shared, so I'm sure that doesn't surprise you much. We are stirring the imaginary pot, standing on one foot and making circles with the other foot in a horizontal plane. Right now, I'm making circles from outside inwards. We'll switch to the other leg, and then we'll do the circles from inside outwards. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and switch to the other leg. These circles are not an easy move. This, again, requires a little bit of imagination. Imagine you're stirring the pot with a really viscous brew or soup. Again, maybe molasses. So this requires quite a bit of self-resistance to make this work. Very good. Now, as I promised, we're going to make similar movements, but rotating the foot around the circle from inside outwards. So in other words, if you went clockwise first, just go counterclockwise. This is also a nice workout for the hip flexors because the hip flexors are responsible for keeping your hip flexed with the knee in front of you. Let's switch to the other leg. Again, it's not a easy circle. It's a circle that requires quite a bit of effort because you are stirring the pot with some viscous substance that provides you a lot of resistance. Great. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to make movements as if we are cycling with one foot. We will be doing it with both feet, and we will do it on the ground. But first, we're going to do it standing, cycling with one foot, like a bicycle kick. Ready? Switch to the other foot. Same movement. So now you're making the circles in the mid-sagittal plane, the plane that divides your body in the right and left halves. Sometimes we also refer to this intersection of the sagittal plane with the body as center line. If you have clothes with zippers, you know where the center line is. It's right where the zipper is. Okay. Good. Now I'm sure you feel nicely warmed up. We're not done yet. We're going to make similar circular movements, only in reverse. If we were doing bicycling forward, so to speak. Now we're going to bicycle backwards. And it's going to look a little bit more like a mule kick or a rear kick in my vernacular. Lifting the foot up and then going back and down. And it's okay to tilt your torso a little bit forward. And engage your butt muscles. The butt muscles will appreciate the opportunity to get some training. The glutes are among the largest muscle groups in the body in most people's bodies, but not many people actually pay enough attention to training them. Sometimes I jokingly hear people saying that I have buns of steel. Well, there's a reason for that. I train them. I don't let my glutes become flabby. They get a lot of training from all kinds of practices that I do. All right. Whenever you're ready to switch to the other leg, go ahead and do that and make rear kicks or mule kicks with that side. One more for good measure. And now we're going to make another movement. In this case, we're going to be painting circles with our feet in the frontal plane. Like literally, if you imagine standing in front of the wall, that would be the frontal plane facing the wall. And imagine that there is a paintbrush attached to your toes. So you would be making circular movements with your foot and painting circle on the wall in front of you. Notice how my torso leans sideways when I make this kick. It's a side kick essentially. Also, abductors of the leg, the glute min and glute mid, gluteus minimus and gluteus medius, are getting some workout. Not many people dedicate any effort to training their abductors. This is an opportunity to train them. Whenever you're ready, feel free to switch to the opposite set and make circular movements, painting these circles on the wall, an imaginary wall in front of you, with the opposite foot. And one more side kick, and we are almost done with the legs, except we have one more move to do, and that is we are going to make a roundhouse kick. And it looks like this. So if you were raising your leg on the center line and moving it sideways just a minute ago, now you're raising the leg on the side of your body and bringing the knee in towards center line. So in a sense, it's like imagine you're painting the circle either with a foot or with a knee, also on a frontal plane, on a canvas that you're facing. You may probably hear my breathing now because I'm breathing heavier just because I've been doing some workout and I'm transitioning from the anaerobic to the aerobic regime of training, literally experiencing strength training and endurance training in one sitting. That's amazing. That's something that you will hardly find anywhere else in the fitness world. Let's do the same thing with the opposite leg, making roundhouse kicks, painting circles from outside inwards now. And again, imagine that you are making all these moves submerged in a tank with molasses. So there is some resistance that you're going through. Okay. The next thing we're gonna do is on the floor. I received some requests to repeat some floor exercises. Well, why not? I am at the dojo. It's nice soft tatami mats on the floor. So I'm gonna first lie down on my back and engage my hip flexors in a movement that pulls the knee up of one leg. And then I'm gonna make a bicycle kick and do the same thing, with alternating legs. Make sure that you're lifting the knee as high as you can. And don't forget about self-resistance. It's not an easy move. It's a pretty challenging move where you're moving through molasses or some other viscous substance like that. Whenever you're ready to flip onto your stomach, go ahead and do that. And now we are going to make movements that are not going to be bicycling because it's really hard to do it on your stomach. We're just simply going to raise the leg like this and move it slightly off to the side and bring it down. So you're going to basically be painting circles in a vertical plane with an imaginary paintbrush attached to your foot. I was talking to you about the buns of steel. Well, yours are going to be as trained as mine if you do more of this movements on a regular basis. Whenever you're ready to switch to the opposite foot leg, go ahead and do that. Lift the leg up and then move it off to the side and complete the circle. And then do a number of repetitions, however many you want. Okay. The next thing is going to be a very strange maneuver because I'm going to be lying on my side. So as you can see, I'm lying on my side. I bend the top leg, so in this case, it's the right leg. I bend it and position the foot sole down on the floor. And what I'm going to do next is just simply lift the bottom leg up towards the knee of the other leg. This will engage your gracilis and the adductor magnus. Now, those are the adductor muscles that are important to train, just as important as abductors. In fact, if you only train adductors or abductors only, there's going to be imbalance. So you need to train both. Done enough of the moves on one side, however many you feel is appropriate. Just flip over onto the other side and do the same thing with the other leg. Right. I did not mention anything about molasses because most people have relatively weak adductors. And so you don't need any extra resistance. Gravity will essentially do enough resistance. The weight of the leg is going to be just what the doctor ordered. What we're gonna do next is we are going to explore the movements that seem to be too simple. They just sit in a, I guess it's a hurdler position. No, hurdler is this way. Either way, that's the one that's easier for most people. And what we're gonna do is rotate the front leg or the straight leg as if your toes are windshield wipers. We are training muscles that most people don't even know they have. It's pectineus in the front and piriformis in the back. If you ever had any sciatica, you know about piriformis. That's one of the muscles that actually can impinge the sciatic nerve and cause the pain in the ass. And what we're doing is we are training those muscles so that they don't get undue tension, because they're going to be strong, and strong muscles don't go into spasms. Pectineus in the front is the muscle connecting the minor lesser trochanter of femur, the upper leg bone, to your pubic bone. So here, an area in Chinese medicine referred to as qua. Qua is essentially a hip crease. We want to train this muscle that is responsible for internal rotation of the leg. So we are using the leg and the foot as the windshield wiper. Whenever you're ready to switch, go ahead and flip to the other side. And we'll do the same windshield wiper maneuver with the other leg. Okay, very nice. The next thing we're going to do, also sitting on the ground, is bring both feet as close to your crotch as you can and hold on to them with both hands. We are not going to do this move because this is the easiest way to pull your groin. No, we actually going to do the opposite. We are going to use the elbows to provide some resistance to the inner thighs as you're trying to lift your knees up. While you're lifting your knees, you can also inhale. And then as you release the tension in your groin muscles and gracilis, you drop the knees down and exhale. And again, when you're ready to inhale again, lift your knees, pushing against your elbows. And then release the tension in the groin and gracilis muscles and let the knees drop down. You may even move your torso a little bit back and forth. And you pull your knees up and straighten your torso, you inhale. When you tilt your torso forward and let your knees down, you exhale. Make sure that you do not stretch. Stretching is not what I teach. If you stretch doing this, you are very likely to cause yourself a stretch reflex. So I'm warning you ahead of time to not stretch, meaning don't push down on the knees. Just let them drop naturally without any force applied onto them downwards. One more move, and we are going to switch to the next maneuver, and that is going to be working on our hamstrings. That's right, hamstrings need some training. since they are on the back side of the upper leg, most people don't see them in the mirror, they barely pay attention to them. But those are crucial muscles and they need to be strengthened. We train our quads a lot more than we train our hams. We need to train our hams too. So as you can see, I'm lying on my stomach and one of my knees is bent with the foot pulled up. Now I'm going to imagine that I'm moving against the molasses, trying to push the foot down, straightening the knee. And then again, pull against the resistance, trying to lift the foot up, bending the knee, and then again straightening. Now, we're all busy people, so we could actually do this on both legs. Not just one leg at a time, but two legs at a time at once. One straightening, the other one is bending. If you feel like your legs are not moving smoothly and gracefully, are they making some jerky start-stop motions? That's okay. It just simply means that your hamstrings are not used to performing eccentric motion. And that's exactly what they're doing when you're bringing your foot down. A couple more moves for good measure. Since I'm on the floor, I'm going to share with you something that I learned a while ago. And that is the study about the prediction of longevity. Now, who knows how correct it is, except the doctor from Brazil who did this study swears by it, and he basically says that there is a direct correlation, if not necessarily causality, but correlation between the ability to get off the floor without using your hands and your longevity. So, if you want to experience greater longevity, you may want to learn how to get off the floor without using your hands. How would I get up off the floor without using my hands? I'm sitting cross-legged right now. What am I supposed to do? Jump up and unfurl my legs? No, I'm going to put one foot forward. One foot forward. The other leg is still bent at the knee, like I was sitting cross-legged. I'm going to lean forward with my torso so that I actually end up kneeling on the knee of the back leg, like this. And then, using the momentum and also the strength of my legs, I get up. Once again, I get down, sit cross-legged. Let's try the other leg. Maybe that leg is going to work better. So, one foot forward, the other leg is still bent at the knee, pointing sideways. I lean forward to bring my weight onto the front foot. So now I'm kneeling down on one knee, on that back leg. And then I stand up. It's an easier move than I used to teach my students, but I figured that That one was a little bit too complicated, too difficult to perform. It was like this. So I designed a new move. This one. Easy peasy, right? So let's do it again. Cross-legged. Whichever leg you choose to put forward, put one foot forward. And then stand up. And then get back down. Switch to the other foot, being one that's going to go forward. Put that front foot forward, lean forward, and stand up. And again down. The other foot forward. Lean forward, and stand up. And one more time. Down. Very nice. One foot forward, lean forward, and stand up. Easy peasy, right? Any questions about this move? Looks ridiculously easy, right, when I do it? Well, I want you to live long and prosper. So that means I want you to learn how to perform this move without using your hands. Now, is it okay to cheat? Some people ask me, I can't get up without using my hands. Does it mean that I'm going to croak next week? No, you're not going to croak next week. Let's not get excited. So what I'm going to do is just simply help yourself a little bit. So I'm getting down into the cross-legged position. So I can put one foot forward. Maybe it's too hard for you to shift the weight forward. Okay, fine. Just help yourself a little bit, pushing away from the ground with one hand. If it's too hard to get up without the use of hands at all, well, fine. Just push into the knee of the front leg. So the back leg is knee down on the floor. The front knee is sticking up. Or you can push into the knee and help yourself. It's cheating, but it gets you up. So once you do this a few hundred times over the course of the next couple of months, I'm sure that it will become easier and easier each time, and eventually you won't need to touch your knee. You won't need to help yourself with a hand behind your back leg. But for the time being, maybe it's okay. You're just simply practicing, you're training, you're getting baby steps. Okay? So baby steps are really important. I really respect baby steps. It's like easy to forget about baby steps. It's so easy to just say, oh, you just jump up, just like some of my students like, how in hell am I supposed to do this? Well, you can if you just practice. But if you don't do this, do baby steps. Just one little baby step at a time. Help yourself with a hand. Just notice how much you have to help yourself in order to get up, so that eventually you reduce that to lesser and lesser degree, and eventually you don't have to. Does it make sense? Well, we are going to have one more practice today. And this practice is going to be imagining that you are doing the dance of a skeleton. Imagine you are a skeleton that is devoid of muscles, devoid of soft tissues, no organs left. You're just a skeleton. In Tibet, the lamas in training practice a really strange practice, chod. They go to the Tibetan cemetery, and in Tibetan cemeteries, they don't dig graves because there is no dirt to dig. It's the high plateau where there is hardly any dirt or soil. And they don't cremate their dead because there is no wood. There are no forests. So they can't cremate them, they cannot bury them underground, so what? Well, they actually lay them out on a plateau and let the vultures and other scavengers come and eat them. That's right, I'm not kidding. It sounds really ridiculous burial rite, but that's how they do it. So the llamas in training, or the apprentices, spend time, often overnight, in these burial grounds, just observing the skeletons, imagining that they are also letting go of attachment to their tissues, to their muscles, to their bones. And actually the bones are still holding on, but they just imagine that it's the only thing that's left, the bones. And then they can also practice moving like a skeleton. And that is a real fun practice. So I'm going to demonstrate, and then I will invite you to do something very similar. So I close my eyes and I just release all attachments to my connective tissues, muscles, sinews, ligaments, skin, organs, bone, blood. Only the bones remain. And I imagine that I'm like a marionette, the skeleton that can be animated by the strings coming straight down from heavens. Animated in a way that does not use any strength. Just completely loose and relaxed movement. And you're welcome to experiment and play with that idea of moving like a skeleton yourself. You don't even have to go to Tibet to learn this dance of the skeleton. Go chum. For a minute or two of this practice, you will be feeling like you are done. You let go of all the tissues, all the organs, all the blood, and then the bones can rest and relax. Congratulations. Now that was a special transmission of chum. And that is something that not many people in the world experience unless there are llamas in training. So I just want to encourage you to explore this practice on your own. There's no wrong way to do it, really. It's simply giving yourself the permission to move with no effort whatsoever. Remember, in the very beginning of our program, I promised that you will learn how to not only become strong, but also how to relax. Well, what would be a greater way to relax if not imagining that you have no muscles at all? So you're moving without effort. Effortless movement is actually the step towards what I call harmonious culture movement. Harmonious culture movement is what we practice in our Qidao programs. We will dive deeper into it, starting in a program that is going to be launching at the end of this month. I mentioned to you, I think, that we're going to have a scholarship contest. So keep your eyes peeled. You will receive an email, probably today, most likely, from me, with an invitation to check out a couple of videos. And if you click on the button with the video, it will take you to a scholarship contest. I hope that you apply and you'll be able to potentially receive a scholarship. And one of the things that the scholarship does it gives you the ability to reduce the tuition for our program, but also you will be able to receive additional bonuses, such as some of my most popular online courses. One of them, for example, is how to overcome the most prevalent problems with Qigong. Yes, there are problems with Qigong, and I actually created a program or an online course dedicated to overcoming these problems. And there are some others, for example, Qigong fundamentals and the online courses that are some of my most popular courses. I have like over a dozen courses. And so those are specifically handpicked as bonuses that will be given to the winners, both the first prize and the second prize. And by the way, the first prize is really nice, juicy $1,000 scholarship. And the second prize is not too bad. It's $500 scholarship, and more than one person will win the second prize, I'm sure, as we usually have several second prizes. I encourage you to go ahead and use the link that you will receive in the email. And by the way, there's right now in the chat another link. I put the link here in the chat for my booking calendar. Please make sure that you click the link before we finish our session so that you'll be able to visit my booking calendar, schedule your complimentary coaching session, because as a part of our program, I offered a coaching session, and I don't think you received it yet. And I got your message, Gary, that it's nice and cold in your garage, 25 degrees temperature. 25, I assume it's Fahrenheit, not Celsius. Celsius 25 is very nice. Fahrenheit, not so nice. So I presume that that's the Fahrenheit. And in that case, yes, please don't spend any time on a garage floor. So what I look forward to is seeing you maybe next week, if you can find time in my calendar for your coaching session. If you can find the time in my calendar, or if you're not available next week, go for the week after. I don't want it to drag out, because as we are wrapping up our program, I will be starting a new thing. And the new thing is, by the way, a World Tai Chi and Qigong Summit combined together with the World Resilience Summit. And yeah, that's a big deal. It's a big project. And so I just will not be offering coaching sessions during that time. And so now is the time to take advantage of this session. Please do it now. I look forward to seeing you in our next session, and have a wonderful week. Namaste.